Hello, everyone. Welcome to a Tuesday edition of Coffee Talk. How cool is that? And welcome to Laura Giacomelli, my co host. We are brought to you by the Regold Company, and you can learn more about us at regold.com. We are all about passion for dance education. How are you, Miss Laura?
Awesome, Ree. How are you?
I'm in a good place.
Good. That's good. Where are we now in the world?
I am in Weddington, North Carolina, and I'm actually in this gorgeous home, but this is considered the basement at Michelle Soudier's home. And actually, I just put a bid in on a home about 4 miles from here.
I wasn't sure we were going to bring that up. Yay! Congratulations.
Thank you. This is going to be my new home, this whole area, and I love it here. Very excited.
It feels like home, like that area already. Does it feel like this is where you're supposed to be?
Yes, and the warmer weather is embracing me. I keep thinking about Massachusetts and home and saying, okay, all the trees are down by now. It's 40s at night and chilly, and I'm enjoying. Believe it or not, it still feels like summer here.
Wow.
It's just like, that's what I'm looking forward to.
Good for you. Congratulations.
What's going on in your life, my friend?
What's going on? I'm sure, like many of us, I'm stepping into costume world and getting ready to order my bazillion costumes. So that's like the big to do for this week. I break it up into two halves. So the first half right now is the company costumes, which I'm like tackling this week, and I want them all ordered by Thursday. We'll see. My goal. That's my goal, because then I have my son this weekend. I want to kind of slip away and go to the mountains for a little weekend with him. So my goal is, even if I have to pull an all-nighter Thursday night to Friday, I'm like, I'm going to get to those mountains by noon. So that's my plan.
One of the things I admire about you, and I hope those that are either watching today or watching this on demand would follow you in, is you seem to always make time for the family.
Yeah. I feel like that fills my cup. It's not like necessarily like a thing to like check off my to-do list. Like, my parents live in the Poconos, in Pennsylvania, and up there, that's my childhood summer house that we always went to all summer long, and then my dad would use it to go hunting in the winter. But that's like my happy place. So that's actually like a place where, and they live there full time now. We had a house in Philadelphia where I grew up, and they sold that a couple years ago. So that's kind of like my happy place. So it's a kind of like a double, I don't know, it's like a double joyful thing, because I get to see my family, my parents, and then I get to also like slip away and fill up my cup and make my soul happy. So yeah, I actually go there a lot. And then I'll be up there the entire week at Thanksgiving. I already said that to my parents. I'm like, I teach on Mondays and then Cole's off all week. So I'll be up there Tuesday to Sunday. My mom's like, okay. So, and Cole loves it there too. That's like his little happy place. He's like, you want to go for a walk? I'm like, yes, I do. Let's go.
What would you say to a dance teacher or a studio owner who may be listening who says, I'm too busy?
What would I say? I used to be too busy, and then I got burned out and I would physically get sick. And then I would spend my holidays being sick. That happened so many times the first couple years I was open. Every Thanksgiving break, I would get sick. It was like my body would like wait until it knew that I was going to stop and stand still, and then I would get sick. So I found that I'm a better teacher and a better mom and a better business owner when I have little chunks of time to like fill my cup. And then the business just works better. It does. The business it runs better. I'm better at blocking my schedule. I use like, these 2 hours I have to do emails. These 2 hours I'm going to do measurements for the day. Do you know what I mean? I really try to do that blocking. And that's just really helped me. I don't know. I feel like you make time for your physical and mental health, or your physical and mental health is going to demand it at some point. You're not going to be able to pick.
You are right. You learned it younger than I did. I'm only recently understanding this. In order to be your best, you must stop sometimes so that you can rejuvenate. And the spirit is really what it's all about. You're ready to roll on a Monday after you've actually stopped thinking about your business. But there's many people out there, and I was one of these, who say, oh, I got to leave no stone unturned. I got to keep working. I got to keep going in order to get where I want to get. And aren't we all kind of trying to get to a place where we could relax for a bit, right? It's
yeah. And I feel like that's the joy of entrepreneurship, right? You want to have that, to me, that's a big part of why I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I wanted to be in charge of my own balance, if that makes sense, right? Now, my balance is June. It's very crazy, right? Like, it is Disney World running, like crazy planning, and like the recital, and then like the big thing happens. But then, like, when we close for 3 weeks, we close. I don't do private lessons. I don't start choreographing anything. I don't hold camps. Like, I close. And I mean, I let my other teachers do what they want to do. If they want to have private lessons during that time or start choreography, go right ahead. But like anything with me, I know I need time to like step back. And I feel like too, that's how you get your inspiration. You're not your most inspired when you're drained, right? Like, I get my inspiration when I feel most excited about something or touched by something. Like, you have to step away from it to also, at least for me, I can't speak for everyone. For me, I know I need to step away to feel inspired, or to get inspired, and then to bring it back into the classroom and the business, and to help my teachers do that too. Because it's not just me. I have to help my whole staff, and my staff is like 13 strong at this point. There's a lot of people to manage,
Okay, well, I think we just solved all the problems for dance studio owners.
You're welcome. And that's it. See you next week.
So the moral of that story is it's okay to stop, especially when you're feeling a little bit of burnout. It's even okay to say, I think I'm not going in today, and I'm going to let so-and-so cover my classes.
Yeah. I did that last week, Ree. I just literally did that last week. Or yeah, was it last week? It was last week. Yeah, I did last week.
Okay, we have a special guest today, Trish Thompson-Creamer from Canada, an acro genius, I'm going to call her, and somebody I've watched for a long time. Her son is the current Mr. Dance of America, and she's really cool. So we are going to have an acro conversation this morning, and we will be back right after this. Excited for the conference, excited to welcome Trish. And also, I'd like to say, anybody watching, check in with us. Let us know where you're from. If you have any questions for us or Trish as we're moving along, we'll be happy to take them. Nadine is here from Canada. Hello, Nadine. Trish, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you for having me join you guys today.
Absolutely. It's our pleasure. Thank you for being here.
I would love to just start off because I don't know the answer to this question. How'd you get into this whole thing? How old were you when you started in dance? And was it acro that you started in, or was it good old ballet, tap, and jazz?
You know what? I started off as a gymnast. So I just like 5 years old, just doing, once a week type recreational gymnastics. And then as I got older, like around 7 or 8, I started training with the competitive team. And then it was probably around 9 years old that my gymnastic coach said to my mom, can you put her into dance? Because she moves a little oxy, like an ox, she. Right? So she needs.
Here goes a deep dark secret.
Right, she needs some help. So I had a friend that moved here from out west, and she danced at a local dance studio. So I just kind of went with her, and then I just really fell in love with it, and I have danced all the way through. But I still love gymnastics, and when I was old enough, I at 14 actually I started to coach gymnastics myself. And then at 17, I became certified with the Ontario Gymnastic Federation. And then I had such a passion for it when I was 18 that I went and I became a certified judge with the Ontario Gymnastic Federation. So I learned all of the marking systems, and I would go and it was amazing. Then I went to college for something completely unrelated. Law and security. I don't even know how that even came into my.
Wow.
You
Yeah.
probably have a very secure studio.
Right. And then, you know what? I was working at my dance studio. I was teaching there. I started teaching at 16. And then when I was in college, the teachers went on strike. And I just had to make a decision. And so at 22, my dad said, you know what? You got to make a decision. What are you going to do in life? And I said, well, I think I could maybe teach dance. I think I could do that. So at 22, I opened up Rythym Plus, and here I am, 32 years later.
Congratulations.
32. It's crazy.
So, Trish, do you teach at all?
Do I teach at all?
No, do you teach it all? Are you do you mainly teach acro, or do you teach all the other styles?
Yeah, when I opened up my studio, I taught everything: ballet, tap, jazz. I did it all. And then just as the studio has kind of evolved, I teach just jazz, lyrical, and acro. So I try to stay away from the things that I know. Not that the ones that I know are not my strength. Not saying that jazz, lyrical, and acro are my strength, but they're the ones I feel more comfortable teaching.
You're very humble. I think you're really good at what you do.
Thank
Yes,
you.
I've watched videos literally this morning prepping for this, and I was like, oh, I'm excited for this interview. Yes. Mm-hmm.
That's funny. Well, thank you.
Mm-hmm, for sure.
So I feel like, I'd love to hear your opinion. I feel like, and maybe acrobatic arts is responsible for this. Good old Mandy Yip, who has created something incredible. I feel like acrobatics has boomed in the last 6-7 years, both across the US and Canada.
Mm-hmm.
First, do you agree with that?
100%. I think that Mandy, she's, acrobatic arts has been around for over 10 years. And I think that she really was able to tap into something that the industry really needed, just even for safety reasons. The way that she has outlined all of the progressions for teaching and for teachers that don't have a background in it, she's made it so easy for people to understand the mechanics of it. So yeah, definitely. I think it's something that has really, really boomed. Really, it's really come, but dance in general kind of goes through phases. Like sometimes there's a pop craze, then there's like a big contemporary phase or an acro phase or whatever. So it kind of does that. But what I appreciate through Mandy and acrobatic arts is that first of all, I appreciate the fact that I'm a part of that organization, because it's like, in my opinion, it's the best. That if I had to sum it up, I would say that it's the best. But I just appreciate it for me, I bring that into my studio. Even with my background, we teach it, and I certify my teachers in it, and so it has consistency, and that's what you need, right, for success.
Right.
You have to have consistency. So yes, I agree.
I feel like it gives you a very clean syllabus, like you're saying, of like the levels and what you need to hit and the progressions, right? And I think also what you're saying too is the safety aspect of it, because I think that was something, I have teachers that are certified in acrobatic arts, and I feel like before, when I didn't have acro, because my acro program is still pretty new. I'm open 14 years. I've only had acro for maybe 7 of them. So it wasn't something that when I first opened up, I started because I didn't have any acro background. I came from strictly dance and a non-competitive dance world. I was always choreographing for competition, so I understood that type of choreography, but I never had the training for the acro. But once I've had like acro teachers and, help their training and help their education. I mean, acrobatic arts is just huge when it comes to the progression of my classes. Like right now we have 4 levels of acro right now. And it's still a younger program compared to how long I've been open. But we love it. Absolutely love it.
And I think it's good too for the parents, because when the parents know your teachers have been certified, and when the parents know that you're following a syllabus, that you have a system in place, I think it's better for a sale. Like for a sale, like to be able to say, this is what we do, we support this. But we also, just in general too, my teachers, I try to certify them in with other organizations too, right? Like we're certified with Dance Masters as well. So, and then with the Royal Academy. So we try to keep everything just, it covers us too, if anything was to go wrong. So.
Yeah.
So Trish, talk to me a little bit about your thoughts on competitive dance and acro becoming so prevalent in it. I've heard very positive things, and then I've heard from teachers who don't have acro as part of their curriculum, frustrated competing with acro. What are your thoughts on this? We're going right for the meat of this. What are your thoughts on this?
You know what, Ree? I think that question is so loaded for me, like, because it's a loaded question for me, because I think I can go to so many places with this answer that, like for me.
I'll take each place you want to go.
For sure.
So for me, as an acro studio, and, my frustration, okay, I guess for me, acro always gets really a bad rap, like, I think, because people think that, we're going to throw an aerial in here, we're going to throw these tricks in here, so now that dance is going to be better than, or they're competing against studios that don't do those, that they don't have the acro abilities. But the thing is like, my studio is an acro studio, and I try to keep acro out of other disciplines in that sense. So when I do jazz, we do just jazz. When we do lyrical, we do just lyrical. When we do contemporary, and so on and so on and so on. So if I was to incorporate acro into my other disciplines, then I'm looking at entering them in like an open category. So, I feel that is acro the same as cheer? I have done some competitions in the States, and I feel like my acro could be competing against like a cheerleading routine. So, I mean, there's so many different points that we could start to discuss here. Do you know what I'm saying? Because I feel that cheer and acro are different. I feel that acro and gymnastics is different. I feel that cheer and gymnastics is different. So I feel like they're all cousins of the same family, I guess, but they're not the same. So I think it opens up so many doors because, I mean, why? I don't know. It kind of brings me back to the contemporary. I love contemporary. There's so many amazing, talented contemporary teachers, especially in my area and within my studio. But, you know, you go to competition, you have contemporary and lyrical. You have contemporary and jazz. You have contemporary and acro. You have contemporary. It's everywhere. So, you know, it's a loaded question. It's a loaded question.
Trish, could I ask you just from another choreographer's perspective, because I approached it in a different way than you. And I find it so interesting that you have such a strong acrobatic program, but you just said like I don't put acro in my jazz. Like even in your choreography, do you keep it like you wouldn't put an aerial or a walkover or anything like that in your jazz competitive dances?
Well, no, because I don't know what it's like in the States, but in our area, there's restrictions. Like you can only do one acro trick in jazz.
Right.
You can only do one acro trick in lyrical, whatever. Then it puts you into a different category. So I probably wouldn't do it
Wow. See, now,
unless it called for it. Like unless I had something, I would follow the rules and only do that one trick. So, you know, that's not everything is acro, and it's so funny. And I have to tell you, like our studio, I think we go to competition with about 190 routines or something like that, 180 to 190 routines. And out of those numbers, I have 5 acro teams. That's it. And I had this past season, I only had 4 acro solos, 5 acros. I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I had 6 acro solos and 2 acro duets. Three acro duets. That's it. So you're looking at less than like a dozen routines that are acro out of that 180 or 190 entries. You know, so it's funny because we just try to keep it small, but I think it's selective. I think I keep it a little bit more selective.
yeah. Well, I feel like I'm not sure if maybe this is your thinking. I would love to understand why. But I feel like acro, I mean, maybe it's kind of like also competing in ballet. You don't really see a lot of people competing in ballet because ballet is to me is the most definitive technique. You're either doing a tendu properly or you are not. And I would assume that from what I know about acro, you're doing an aerial properly or you are not. Like it is just you can see it. It's I feel like contemporary lyrical jazz, you can always have a flair onto it or and make it stylized, right? You can kind of blend it a little bit more or have it contemporary lyrical, right? But I would assume that when you're judging something like acro, you're either doing that skill properly or you're not. It is very black and white. Is that correct in saying that or no?
Yes, I think it's correct in saying that, but I think that with anything, yes, I guess for me, I struggle with it's all perception though as to what's correct, right? Like you know, I understand like an aerial is an aerial, but you know, there's not a lot of kids that do an aerial the same way, I guess in a sense. So we still accept the movement and the skill as an aerial, but you know, everybody kind of does it a little bit different.
But your understanding of the technical aspect or the technique of that aerial will come into play regardless, I'm assuming.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And I will say too, at least at the competitions that my studio are going to, I do see a lot of acro tricks being thrown into jazz categories, contemporary. But our limit is actually, and this might maybe I don't know if this is for everyone, but the competition that we've been going to over the past 14 years, they allow 3 tricks, up to 3 tricks in any of the styles. So
Yeah,
I feel
do too. Yeah.
yeah. So I feel like I don't know. I feel like maybe the competitions that I'm going to and the studios that we're competing against, they really go to 3. It's not like they utilize every single trick that they're allowed to have in that routine. They throw it in there. So I feel like for in the States at least, I see a lot of acro. And to be honest, I feel like that's probably why it pushed me to start offering that at my studio, because I saw that it was growing, right? Like that a lot of routines were having that. And I thought to myself, well, if I have dancers that want to go to school for this and want to become professional dancers, and they're, at an audition and they want to throw a trick, I want them to be able to stand next to someone else who can do an aerial, right? Because sometimes you do want to have a couple tricks in your pocket to show off and to kind of stand out in that way. But that's why I started acro, because I feel like in the States, it just became so prevalent. And I mean, it's still very, very strong now. But like we're saying, contemporary is on its, we're riding that wave too, for sure. But I feel like acro, it's really held on, just become like a common practice in choreography.
No, and I agree too. Like if I would put 3 tricks in, if I'm allowed to put 3 tricks in, I guess, in a sense. But not every child needs to have that aerial or that walkover. It's like, does every routine need to have 15 ground pirouettes? Like, just because the parent is asking, right? Like, just because the parent is asking for it, can they do it well? Like, does it call for it? Like, so I think you have to be just really selective and like, okay, so because my dancer does an aerial in her routine, does that mean that she's automatically going to outscore your dancer? There's so many other elements to that, right? Like they have to, their technique, has to be, sound. And so I think that it goes back to that. I have a lot of dancers here that could do aerials and back handsprings and walkovers, but not every child should be doing that in their routines, or they need to be doing that in their routines, right? And anything over 3 tricks in a routine or 3 skills, acro skills, it should be an acro routine.
Right. I agree with that for sure, because I feel like that's always like an argument. You can hear it in the audience, like, oh, that's, they had so many of this, that should be an open, or that should be under acro. Right. I 100% agree with that. I feel like pushing the boundaries of those rules we should really be, I think, as choreographers, more respectful of that, for sure.
Well, you have to be respectful when you teach it, and so you have to be respectful when you present it, right? Yeah. You need that both ways. So
yes, yeah, 100%.
Trisha, I know from previous conversations with you regarding the Dance Teacher Alliance that one thing you're really passionate about is acro choreography. I want you to talk to me a little bit about what you think is quality acro choreography, or your innermost thoughts when it comes to working with kids and creating acro numbers.
So I always say that an acro routine should be like a heartbeat. Like you should be on the floor. You should be doing balances on the floor, and you should be doing skills on the floor, and then you should be also doing skills standing up, like upright. If you're not really on the floor that much, then I feel like it's an open routine. I do feel like there has to be a variety of strength and balance and flexibility. Like you have to have all of that. But you know what? Like I do a lot of group work with props, and my biggest pet peeve when I see things, or if I could give advice to anybody, it would be, I always say, you have to treat your prop like a person.
Yes.
It's
Oh, yes.
another dancer in your group. So if you have a group of 10 kids and you have a prop, actually you have 11. You should be choreographing for 11 people, because you never want that prop to be forgotten, because you would never put a child in the back of the stage and have them stand there and do nothing.
Right. My God, you realize what you just said applies to every damn piece of choreography out there. Do you know how disappointing it is? You see this prop and you can't wait to see what they do with it, and they go lay it on the back of the stage and start moving around.
Mm-hmm.
It's really good point, and it doesn't just apply to acro. Okay, go on. Give us some more good.
So you just have to incorporate it. Like, so for me, I like to move it. I like to always, have it, just like, you have to just not forget about it. That's all. The other thing for me is, like, I find it funny kind of now, because any choreography is so easy now, right? Because you have YouTube and you have Instagram and you have all of these platforms that are so accessible to people that you can use them, obviously, for inspiration, never to copy, but you use it for inspiration. And I find it funny because back in the day, we never had that. And so you had to find that within yourself. And I would be inspired by, studios around me that I would go, and when I was young and I had just opened up the studio, I was inspired by people like Joanne Chapman and the Canadian Dance Company and Vlad's and just like people you sit back and you watch, and that's how you would take that inspiration, and that could help promote your next piece of work. But now it's kind of funny because you can just pull up anything that you want, right? And you can just learn from that. But I do want to say on that, I know you asked me about choreography, but what I do want to say about that is that when it comes to acro, you have to be really careful, because if you're going to pull up somebody's routine, watch it, I get frustrated because you have to understand the mechanics of those skills and of some of the lifts that you're seeing, because it's one thing to just imitate it, but what happens if it doesn't work? What happens if your dancers fall or it like something doesn't go right? You have to understand it. You have to be able to break it down to teach it. You can't just show a video and say, hey guys, this is what we're going to do. Like, if you're going to do that, then it's your responsibility as a teacher to learn it, to figure it out. And I always say that some of the best creations come from just allowing the kids to improv. Even in jazz, lyrical, contemporary, you have your kids improv down the floor. They can inspire you so much, right?
I agree with that. Do you know how many times in my choreography days I would watch them do a run through of where to the point we were at, turn around to go shut the music off, and they did something, and I turn around and go, do that again.
Oh, right.
Yeah, I completely, or you have a kid on the floor and you say, what feels comfortable out of that? Yeah. And then they're a part of the creative process.
That's right.
Yeah. And then you're also inspiring, making them feel like you're saying a part of it, but then you're also inspiring them these are like the up and coming teachers. These are up and coming choreographers, right? Like, I was co-teaching baby classes at like 12, and I understood, like, I was very lucky. I had teachers who would explain to me the choreography process. When they're 6, you should be repeating the chorus. On this, you're always switching lines here. Like, they just had their certain little things that they would do, and they invested in me. So I think, and here I am years later owning a dance studio and teaching dance, right, for 22 years. It's like, when you take the time and invest in the next generation and see their movement, like, wow, do that again, that was so cool, let's put that in there. That's going to spark a little something in them to make them want to choreograph. That's exciting,
Exactly. Yeah. I always learn from my students all the time. I'm constantly learning from them, and I'm learning even just how they're different today. Like, kids are a little bit different today. So
Go there for a second. Tell me, in your opinion, what is different, let's say, today? What are you dealing with today that was different, let's say, than before the pandemic?
Oh my gosh. Well, I don't know. It's hard to say because I just feel like, I don't know. I feel like everybody is this instant gratification that everybody wants, like, and I don't know. I feel like from some of my experiences, I feel like people forget where they came from sometimes. That's all. Like, I feel like that sometimes. That's all.
You're hitting the nail right on the head.
Yeah.
Like, as a teacher, you give so much to these kids, and you love them, and and they love you back for sure. But I mean, some of them, as soon as they walk out of your door, they forget where they came from. That's all. And
how do you that? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you go, Laura.
I was gonna say, how do you, as a studio owner, cope with that? What do you do? Because early on for me, that was really hard. That was really, really hard. So what have you done in your years of owning a dance studio to be able to move past and not let that child leaving take the breath out of your lungs?
I can't wait to hear this answer, because I was going to say wine, but I'm not going to say that. Go ahead, Trish.
You know what? I think that, when I was younger, I have to tell myself I had a different relationship with these kids. Now that I'm older, people look at me like a second mom, right? And so I'm not necessarily the fun, young, hip teacher that I was before, but I have to tell myself that nobody owes me anything. Do you know what I'm saying? I gave them what I needed to give them. And as teachers, we do that because we want them to be better people. We want them to be successful. And but at the end of the day, I have to tell myself they don't owe me anything.
Yeah.
And that's how I get by, because I had, the sacrifices that we make as studio owners, and the time that we put into these kids, we do it in the moment because that's what we feel that we should be doing. That's our job, right? So then when these kids go off, and some of these kids are still like, they're still in my life, but some are not, and that's fine too. But I have to remind myself when I get emotional about it, is that really at the end of the day, they don't owe me anything.
But it hurts a little. It stings a little. And listen, in my business, where my students are teachers, they do it too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's interesting to watch. I'd experienced it my whole life as a studio owner and a teacher.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I got onto this side of our field, I didn't realize that it could be that same way with the adults and the teachers and studio owners.
Right.
So you do have to learn to let go and say, hey, I did my best, and the grass looks greener somewhere else. It's an interesting thing. But it becomes an obsession with many studio owners. And so it's important to discuss this, because in reality, you may have lost one, but you have 350 back home who need your attention, and you're not going to give them your full if you're distracted by this one person who didn't appreciate who you were and what you had to offer.
Right. And you know what makes me happy though? When I have my students that have grown up and they're married and they bring their kids to the studio. And, I have people that live in completely different cities and they drive, 30 minutes because they're like, no, my daughter's training with you. Like this is, and so those, we have to, like, those people make my heart melt, right?
Yep.
So, I mean, I'm talking like graduating students that, you know, were here that their entire dance career that now, you know, aren't and whatever. And I love those kids. I really do. And I'm so proud of everything that they do. But sometimes I think we have to take a step back and we have to remember where we came from. I wouldn't be where I am today if I didn't have, you know, a great support system from my dance studio. And, you know, I think about that all the time. Right? Like we have to be thankful for that. We didn't just fall into this job, we grew into this job. So
I love that. I feel like too, as studio owners, I had to change my perspective on retention. Everyone's like retention, 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 retention. But I also had to like say to myself, not every 6-year-old is like me. Not every 6-year-old just wants to dance 7 days a week. Some of them will be able to do soccer.
What is wrong with them? What is wrong with them?
They don't all want to own dance studios. What is wrong? But really, like, most children want to try things, and most parents want them to try things, you know? And so when I think about like retention, I used to think like that was like the number one thing, high retention, high retention. But then I tried to like roll it back a little bit and I was like, but if they want to try soccer, that's okay too, right? I know that I need to continuously market through the year and do, you know, and do my advertising and try to bring them back when soccer season's over, right? But at the same time, I also almost had to take a chill pill for myself in the past couple of years and be like, retention is very important. However, a lot of it's out of our control. They can love dance, but they might just love running and kicking and hitting a soccer ball, right? Like that might be their passion. And I might not be able, no matter what, to keep a handful of kids each season because they found their other passion. And I've even taken a step further and be like, and I'm happy for them. I want them to thrive at whatever they're doing. That's my intention as a coach, whether it's in dance or in soccer or baseball or field hockey. But I would also want that for my own child, right? I want them to be able, I want Cole to thrive in soccer or in swim or whatever it is that his passion is. And I would like for all of his coaches to be supportive in that way and not say, no, you should be doing dance. Like, roll it back. You know, I want my child to do whatever he wants to do, right? So I think I've had to take a little step back with the retention idea. Retention. It's okay. Like I first and foremost, I want your kid to thrive in whatever they're doing. And if it's dance, I'm going to make sure they truly thrive in it. And I give them every opportunity at my studio, you know?
no,
I think this comment kind of says it well, too. This is a point that we didn't cover, but
Yes.
when someone makes a decision that they're going to leave to pursue something else, don't get upset. Don't get angry. Say, you know, the door is always open. Even if you're hurt inside and those words are hard to spill out of your mouth, it's important to do that because often kids who are, let's say, 3-4 years old when they begin dancing, at 12 or 13, they may be strong dancers, but they're questioning whether this is what they really love to do. Give them 3 months to go play soccer and decide that they love dance.
Right.
And that this door that you walked out of is wide open for you to come back.
Mm-hmm.
This was not the topic I thought we were going to go to today, but really a good topic. I think in our field, because we're so passionate and we're working with other souls, that it's, you develop this relationship that is hard to just let go of. I wish we were different people and we didn't become so close. And by close, I don't mean hanging out at your house. It's just, I mean close in, wow, I'm so proud of this kid. Wow, look how far this kid has come. And then all of a sudden, they're not a part of it anymore. But, and I'll finish with talking about this with this. I think as we get older, it's easier to accept that people move on. When you're young and you're into this and you put your heart and soul into it, and somebody says this isn't for me, I think we take it really hard. And then it takes experience in the field to go, oh, there goes another one. I love her, but she's gone. And there are 200 more that I'm going to work my butt off on.
Yep. And I feel like when you get to that point, there's a different level of peace. And
Yes.
and right, and then the energy that you're putting into the, oh, woe is me, this one's leaving, that energy is not there anymore. It's like you're saying, it's going into that 200 students, and they're going to feel that. They're going to feel that, you know, that you're, whether you're missing that one or you're focused on this, right? What you're growing, for sure.
So, Trish,
oh, sorry.
Go.
Sometimes I think we have to not hang on to things. Like, I think it's hard to see in the moment, but it's probably for the best. Does that make sense? Like, you know, it's okay. It's okay. It's all gonna be okay. You know, so it's fine. I think it's a hard lesson to learn, but you finally get there.
Yeah.
And everything has a reason for happening in our lives. I'm just turned 63, and I have discovered that all the good and the bad along the way got me to where I am right now. I'm perfectly satisfied with where I've landed. Perfectly. And part of the bad is what makes us so smart and comfortable with ourselves when we get older and we come to the realization, hey, this has been an awesome journey.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, Trish, where do you see it all going? Do you think that 5 years from now, acro will be as prevalent? Do you think it will continue to grow? What are your thoughts on the future?
Oh, I hope so. I hope it continues to grow, and I hope it stays strong. I think that it's too important for it not to be. You know, I think that it's acro to me. If you're going to incorporate it into your routines, acro to me can be like the spice. Like it's like I don't know, like the hot sauce on a taco. Like, I guess, like, you know, it kind of just like kicks it up a notch. So it is good, but just don't abuse it. That's all. I think that we have to respect it, you know. And it's funny. And I just want to say one thing. Just this year, I've had parents, some parents at my studio kind of question the placement of their kids in the acro classes that we have. And I find it really funny because my son, I never put him on an acro team. And I said to him when he was young, he would say, "Mom, why can't I be on the acro team?" And I would be like, "Because it's not what you do, it's how you do what you do. So even though you can do these skills, you're not doing them quite right yet. So you have to wait." And I made that kid work so hard that, you know, he had something to work for, like towards. And it wasn't until last year. So he's turning 18. So when he was 15, that's when he got onto his first elite acro team here, small team. And it was because he had to keep working. And I find people today, this is the difference, I think, the question that you asked me before COVID and now, I feel like the parents I feel like there's a clouded judgment in the sense that my children are doing, or my child is doing the skill. So why can't she be rewarded for the skills that she's doing? And it's not that we shouldn't be rewarding them, because we should be, but we also have to be very selective with our choices too. So it brings you back to, like, if you can do 3 acro skills in a dance, would you? If you can, and if they're done well, then you should. If they can't, then there's no promise that they should be doing this. So I think that to me, I always laugh about that story about my son, because you would think that because he's the studio owner's son, that he's going to get everything just handed to him. And, it doesn't matter who you are. Your skills have to be at a certain level to be able to be selected to be on, these acro groups.
Right.
So interesting.
Sorry, go ahead, Ray. Sorry, I was just going to say, good for you.
I want to say this. My mother was exactly the way you are. And she'd warn us. She'd say, I can't put you on there because you're not as strong as these people, and they're going to believe that I did this because you're my sons.
Right.
It's important for all those parents, studio owners, and teachers to realize that our own children shouldn't get the breaks, even though it's hard being a dance teacher's child. Shouldn't get a break because of who they are in the bloodline. And it made me work harder. I have a great deal of respect for you for that, Trish. And I didn't like it as a kid, but completely understand it now. Okay, I interrupted you, Laura.
No, I was just going to say the same thing, and I feel like I don't coach Cole. Cole's only 4 right now, and he doesn't dance just yet. I don't think maturity-wise he's quite ready to be in a classroom setting at the studio. Maybe next year, but I would say that just from hearing you, I'm sure it's hard to know when to have the mom hat on, and then when to have the coach teacher hat on. And I was just going to say, like, I commend you for being so strong with the coach's hat too, because I'm sure that's very hard being a mom, knowing that you want that for your child, but then putting the coach's hat on, be like, but I need X, Y, and Z from you. And I know you really want this, but this is the boundary. These are the things I need for you to accomplish in order for you to hit your goal. But because as a mom, you actually want to give to your kid, but that's the balance of being, I would assume, of being a studio owner that trains their child, right? Like you still have to keep that boundary with them too, that I'm holding expectations for every student at this studio, including my own. And I'm sure that's hard.
And it's nonstop because you go home with them on Friday night. You're home with them every night, or, and they're like, Mom, what about this? Look at this. Oh, no. It's good. It's good. It's just, it's not there yet. But I mean, I think it made him better in the long run, right? Yeah. For sure.
You guys made me think of something. I want to tell you this story. I'm going to do it really fast. I think it changes when you become the grandmom, because I had this niece when my mother was still alive who was about 4 years old. And we're driving in the car, and my mother looks at me. She goes, what do you think? Now, nobody in our studio under 12 at the time did a solo. She goes, what do you think if I give Taylor a solo? I looked at her. I go, first of all, she's not that good. Second of all, what happened to this struggle we all went through? And I realized, I go, okay, grandchildren, it could be different. I don't know. But it's a story I'll never forget. She didn't do the solo.
Yeah, I think grandparents lose their mind a little bit. My mom and dad, I'm like, he has a Jeep that he rides on. I'm like, what? Like, he has all these things in my garage. I'm like, I didn't buy any of these. I'm like, this is all grandmom and grandpa. Like, they lose their mind. Yeah.
So, Trish, give us some final words of wisdom, whether acrobatic or dance teacher related, my friend.
Oh my goodness, just believe in yourself. I think that's one of the biggest struggles that I have at times. I feel like try not to be somebody else. Try to just be who you are. And it's okay just to, if you don't always have to, for choreography, you don't always have to be, you don't always have to add on that week. Like, sometimes it's okay to play around, and that's what I do with acro. I can just sit back and waste a day on how to come out of that chest stand. How can we come out of that chest stand and make it look different? And it's okay to do that. So I think taking the pressure off of ourselves and just learning to appreciate what we have, I think, is the best advice. I'm giving that to myself, to be honest, and I'm sharing it with you because I feel it's something that I have to learn. I have to learn.
I'm going to help you learn it because I agree with you 100%. I know in this field, whether you're a teacher or you're a studio owner, confidence in who you are and what you believe is right. Once you develop that or come close to it, because you're always working on it, there are always things that will put a dent in it. But the most successful people are the ones who finally come to the point that says, and I don't mean this in a snotty way, wow, I'm pretty good at this. I'm going to pat myself on the back a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, Trish, you should pat yourself on the back a little bit. I mean that.
Oh, thank you.
Once I said to you, I don't know where we were, I think it was DMA New England, and I said, I know you because you're always winning at DMA. And you said, oh no, I'm the queen of first runner-up. And it made me laugh because I had the impression, right? See, there you go, too, in your head. You think winning is everything. I thought you were the big winner, but I can relate to having the first runner-ups all the time.
Yeah. I think I have the most. Yeah. Which is okay. It makes me it makes me back year after year. It makes me support the organization. It makes me, it's okay.
It's okay. You don't have to win anything. And if you're doing a good job at what you do and your dancers are happy, you are successful.
Yes, yes. And you know what? There's so many talented people in Dance Masters that, you know what, to be first runner up to some of these teachers and their students, that's an accomplishment in itself. So, you can't get upset over that. You have to actually be happy,
Yeah.
So it's good.
In Dance Masters of New England, because Dance Masters of America is a long commitment for the teachers and everything, all the teachers sit together and hope that they'll be first runner-up and not the winner because they don't want to do the 10 days.
Well, it's shorter now. I think it's shorter now. They've shortened it. It's, I think, just a week now. It's good.
Okay. Hey, I really appreciate you, all that you're doing. You're making a great impact, and it's reaching the States as well as all across Canada. Thank you, Laura. Thank you for everybody who tuned in today and will be watching this on demand. Share your passion for dance and be confident in who you are and what you believe is right. Have a great day, everybody.